Joel Rao,
Yeah.
CEO of Dentsu Digital Brands in East Africa.
Okay.
With me is Roy Karuhize. I'll let him introduce himself.
I'm Roy Karuhize. I'm a content marketing strategist and creative, and of course, the CEO of a group called TrueTribe Network.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Um, Tell us a bit about the essence of content marketing and storytelling in that sense.
Okay. I'll tell you from a very personal perspective in terms of
Okay.
what content marketing means to me,
Yeah.
and I'll say the truth of the matter to me is that content marketing is one word that we always have to capture, and we keep coming back to that word. But as much as it sounds generic or general, it's the truth on it. We just have to get deeper into what that word means. And that word is the word story.
Mm,
Content marketing is storytelling.
mm,
Now, when we say if content marketing is storytelling, wasn't that what advertising was supposed to have done? Should an advert be telling us stories about brands? Well, traditionally, we have to take a few steps back and go to the traditional market and see where have we been sitting in terms of how we treated advertising.
mm,
A long time ago, the most powerful thing in the world when it came to marketing was a brand. At one point, the brand was more important than the consumer. We'd lie to ourselves and say the consumer is king, but we're not treating them like king.
mhm,
What we were selling to you was more important than who we're selling it to. We took brands and said, you know what? We're going to give you information about what our brand means, what it stands for, what it believes in.
mhm,
Notice none of that has anything to do with the consumer,
mm, mm,
right? So for me, content marketing is where we began to introduce the consumer
mm,
because the context of content marketing is the consumer.
mm,
It put marketing in context. In
mm,
advertising, we talk down to the consumer,
mm,
give them information about our brand, and expect them to respond. But now things have changed. We've reached a space where the consumer is very arrogant about their life space. They believe in the choices they make, and you don't tell them what to do. You just show them what you have to offer, and they'll make the decision themselves.
mm,
In other words, you have to tell them a story about where you're operating and see if they respond to that story and that story connects with them.
mm,
That story is what we're calling content.
mm,
Content is a story.
mm,
That's what it is.
mm,
It's how do you package stories? And there are all sorts of ways to package stories. I can package a story as a film.
mm,
I can package a story as a skit. I can package the story in music
mm,
as a song.
mm.
I can package it in a dance. I can package it in an action. I can package it in a well-told joke. So that's where the story is. So for me, the whole issue of we're trying to say is content marketing is something just that we need to simplify.
Yeah,
It's as basic as that.
but don't you think a lot of people confuse content marketing and entertainment-led marketing?
Aha, exactly. Now, if content and entertainment led, let's look at it. Entertainment is part of content marketing.
Okay.
Content marketing is not part of entertainment.
Okay.
The thing is, content marketing is about information that is packaged or formatted in a way that it has relevance in a very clear, precise, relevant manner, right?
Mm,
Entertainment could be very organic or sporadic.
mm,
That's with it.
mm,
So entertainment that is completely contained
mm.
to educate and inform becomes content.
Got it.
So there's a whole part about informing
Mm,
that entertainment has to play in order for it to become content.
yeah.
Yeah? Because I can have entertainment where a good stand-up comedian provides content. But how do they provide content? If it's contextualized, if it's clear, precise, and has value.
Mm,
If it doesn't have that value, then it's just entertainment for entertainment's sake. So which means it's sporadic. So most entertainment can be sporadic. When it's actually funneled, it becomes content.
exactly. It's so interesting. You say that because I have conversations with with brand owners, brand managers, and I always tell them that consumers don't go to TV to look out for your ads. They go to TV to watch content. And I think that has given rise to the subscription based model that we're seeing today. You see what, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but you see those ads for Glovo and Bolt on YouTube every time you're watching your
The videos.
videos. and you think to yourself, like, maybe I should actually just get a YouTube subscription service so that I stay away from
From
these
any of
ads.
these things.
Yeah.
Because it's become wallpaper to you. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
become, the thing is, there was a time where we respected the fact that an ad was an interruption, but we believed it was a valuable interruption.
Exactly.
Now we don't want any interruptions in our life space. Because in the world we're living today, as you said, we get to choose. So I can choose to live a life that's not interrupted.
The on-demand economy.
Exactly. Everything is on demand.
Yeah.
It's a very liberal world where I choose what I want and how I want it.
Yep.
Right? So which means I no longer am I going to accept an interruption. Before we say, oh, at least this ad tells me what to buy, why I should buy it, and it's a great thing. Now I'm saying, no. This ad is interrupting my life.
Let's talk about the brands that are doing it right globally.
Okay.
And we bring it home. The best example that I can think of is Pepsi. I don't know whether you know this, but do you know the show, the music show that was running? Not I was gonna say Power, but it's not Power. Cookie Lion.
That was
What's the name of the show? No, that wasn't Power. Empire. There you go. Yeah.
Empire. My God.
Do you know? Oh my
it looks
God.
like we've not been watching anything. Sorry, yes.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
Hey, man. Empire was back in the 60s? No. Okay. Yeah.
Empire.
Exactly.
The really interesting thing, people don't understand this, but Empire was actually a Pepsi show.
Yes.
And the way that you wouldn't notice it in the beginning, but Pepsi featured very subtly in the way the content was being done. The songwriters were actually, contracted by Pepsi. I remember even the studios that they were using were all contracted by Pepsi. So it was a Pepsi produced show, and there was an agenda that was being pushed. And it's that alignment between Pepsi as a brand getting into music as a form of entertainment, and the brand is seamlessly put in there. I don't know what your thoughts are around that.
Yeah. No, okay. I think Pepsi is a good example. Yeah. But when I like to start with the things which are very obvious. Yeah. And I like the way you've used Empire, which is a music-based show.
Yeah.
So music is a very good example to start off with, right? When I look at brands that are getting involved in music, it shows that they're brands that are willing to put their product or place their product in a certain environment and let it grow from there. Also, that happens with sport.
Yeah.
We have seen Adidas and Nike still moving forward. Well, a lot of the other brands have stayed behind because they started spending more of their money, if you noticed, on buying or sponsoring, endorsing the right players, right? Rather than running adverts about the brands they had. So the adverts were disappearing more and their money was going into the people. Because they felt that
going into the talent.
Yeah,
now.
the talent.
They're focusing on the talent.
The talent could tell a better story of what they stand for. So the battle between Adidas and Nike became about which characters do you guys buy and which characters do we buy. Then that became the comparison, right? Brands like basketball shoes, what are they called? Under Armour.
Under Armour, yes.
Yes. We've seen the growth of brands that we're seeing. What they did is take a lot of fresh upcoming players and sponsored those players. And it looked like Under Armour were the coming soons.
Steph Curry.
It's Steph Curry, yes.
The Rock.
All the coming soons were being sponsored by them.
Yeah.
But they were telling a story through those specific characters, saying, these are the guys who are going to become stars in the future. And now's when we're investing in them. So other brands had bought superstars, and they ended up buying the guys who are coming soon to say that we're about fresh expression. You're new, you're fresh to the game, express yourself. Yeah. And that's where the brand began to live. And the first guys who were beginning to take content seriously, of course, are forced to a beverage brand. Because remember, a lot of these beverage brands, especially the high-end alcoholic premium brands, have always based their marketing on the brand's reputation. Their story has always been about, let's not make the numbers, let's make the image. Image matters first, the numbers will come later.
Yeah.
Not let's sell first and then try and build image later. There's a bad rush that old marketing pushes, which is get the numbers in. There's a new way where we're saying get the image in and the numbers will follow. When you watch things as simple as the Kardashians, what they spend time doing is building their story or building the image or building their disruption or building their conflict in different places so that we're able to build numbers later. They don't say, what should I do that will attract more people to me? No. What will I do that will make me more interesting? That's the new story of content.
Got it.
What will I do that will make me more interesting than what will I do that will make me a good investment? No, it's a very boring discussion anyway. Yeah? Don't go around thinking, hey, that guy is interesting. Oh, that guy is a great investment. Which one sounds worth talking about? You'd rather talk about the interesting guy, whether he has money or not. So I think the job of brands today is to make themselves more interesting rather than to make themselves look like good investments.
I read a line from William Morris's book when he was talking about the agency and the business of entertainment. And one thing he said was, from early on in the days, he realized when you control the talent, you control the game. You control the talent, you control the game. In this sense, like, if you think back in the day, the forms of entertainment we had were the suckers, the freak shows that would come in, the tall guys, the short guys, they would ride into town. That was the form of entertainment before it went into theater. And then from theater, it went into film, where you'd go to the box office and buy.
Now it's come back into smaller screens.
And when you think about that, like, when you think about the Cosbys, when the Cosby show when Cosby was like an 18-year-old guy, when he was starting off, that's when the TVs were coming, and it was used as a form of it was like this tube where you're supposed to just put content in. And I think the internet is the same right now. And you think like brands, what they're doing in the market today, looking for content to actually drive. It's quite interesting to see how they can be able to endemically embed themselves into those stories.
You know what the challenge is and what brands have to face? As you rightfully put it, there was a time a guy used to bring the circus into town. Someone brought the circus into town. There's a time someone used to bring the game to you. Someone brought the game to you. There's a time someone brought a show for you on TV. They brought the show to you. The problem with the internet and the problem with your mobile phone is the person who's bringing entertainment to you is you.
Exactly.
That's a very dangerous place to be. So the brand is not very powerful anymore because the consumer can entertain themselves. Right? We had a point where the brand, actually the TV station would go out with the journalist, and the journalist was powerful enough to tell you, I'm speaking to whoever, this is who I met, and this is what they had to say. And that was the story of the accident. The journalist would be the first guy to get to the accident scene, talk to the guy who got injured or whatever happened, ask what happened, look for witnesses, and they talk. But today the witness is recording and giving them their view. So look who's taking over. The journalist is me telling my friend,
this is
what happened. So we've completely removed an owner. Ownership is from whoever collects or creates the content. So it's a very hard world for brands to navigate in. The only way they can navigate in this world is when they place themselves as being the person who understands the world better than the consumer. Not the person who owns the world. The consumer will own. Exactly. You will understand it better. A long time ago, we said content was king, and I told someone the other day, content is now the kingdom. It's the entire environment. The game has changed.
I like that. Content is now the kingdom. Tell me something. This buzzword has been used over the last 3 or 4 years now. Influencer marketing.
Oh, goodness. Very scary word. Because it still talks about some people who are more iconic than others.
I know.
Yes.
Tell me, what are your thoughts around that and how brands are going about it today? And then let's even hone into our brands in sub-Saharan Africa. What do you see in that space? Because I know you play in that space.
I play in that mistake or space. Because I think that what's happening is by default, it's a mistake. And I think the way brands are playing into it, they're going directly to the influencers. There has to be a gatekeeper to safeguard the interests of the brand and to safeguard the interests of the influencer or consumer, right? That gatekeeper funnels it. If it's one direct market to the other, then it's chaos, right? I think the new role of the new agency, which is the content agency we're talking about, is about you being the funnel to control and market that spread from, this is your information, let's digest it and put it in the context you'd like to be represented as. Then take it to the influencer and tell them, this is how we'd like the brand represented. Then the influencer comes back to you and says, this is how I think I'll do it accurately. And And then you say, yes, you're meeting what I want, what I've created. That's exactly what I want, and send it out into the market. So let's say, what's an influencer first? An influencer, I think someone put it out the other day, a friend of mine called Joy Kendi said it correctly, that there's someone who's influential and there's someone who's an influencer. An influential person, right, just might be able to get noticed. Yeah? Get noticed. They're influential. So they do make things get noticed. An influencer actually is someone who has the ability to make you make certain decisions. They can drive your decision making just by the way they act, behave, or what they share. So in order to do that, they actually create something that makes your decision happen. So they are a very powerful person. They are a channel within themselves. They execute the ability to make you make decisions. Now, what's an influencer? An influencer, therefore, in order to be able to make you make your decision, they have to build their own brand image. So first there's the brand's image, then there's the influencer's image.
Yeah.
Because they're a brand within themselves. So it's a very strange form of marketing we've gone into, where the brand has to talk to another brand who channels the message to the consumer. So the real influencer is an amazing image and very capable of content creating. And content marketing is a funnel. You're just a manager of the process.
Okay.
You're a manager of the process because you know what the brands need and you know what's demanded from the influencers. So you're able to shape things to fit both. I think that gatekeeper is the most important thing right now on this new level. Yeah, not an agency that exists in the traditional format, because the agency in the traditional format protects who? The brand. But this one, the new content agency, protects which two people? The brand and the consumer. They protect both. And they're protecting the consumer for the good of the brand. But they have to protect both. So for them, they make sure that the influencer gets a good deal. And the influencer delivers value to the brand.
So tell us a bit what TrueTribe is doing in that space.
TrueTribe right now, what we're trying to do is we're looking at the three most important arms of how we're going to be able to channel or market content. Because of content demands, remember, content has to be something that is very dynamic. It's storytelling. Stories change, stories develop, stories grow, stories shrink, right? So for that to be able to happen, it means you need to develop a very dynamic company. And you need to have a company that, as we said, protects the brand and protects the consumer. Now, in order for that to happen, you have to create a company that what it does is, one, it creates. Yeah, it has a creation arm, and that creation arm is for the brand. It creates things that are relevant from the brand to send to the consumer. Then it has to be able to have also the ability to reach out to the influencers, right? The right people to channel this stuff through. The right people who will protect the brand in the market, who will send it to the consumer. So we need to also take part in influencer management. So we have an arm that creates the different forms of content and the different formats and the different ideas and techniques to make it exciting. And we've got an arm that manages the influencer. Then we have to have an arm in between, because we need to share this in the market that's very dynamic.
Exactly.
So we need production. So a good content agency has to have a production facility. Yeah, in different formats, to be able to produce anything that needs to go down on digital formats or mobile formats, social formats of every level, and go back on traditional formats in any level, and produce statics, produce audios, produce radio, whatever is required. So it needs to be very dynamic in that sense. Quickly, you collect the information, take the story, because the story is relevant for a particular period of time, translate the story into content that needs to be shared, get the right person to share it, or the right tool or influencer to share it, and then produce that content immediately. All that has to be done within one house. Because if it's not done within one house, the whole synergy of a story is lost. That's like saying having a movie being produced, it's written in one place that's separate. The actors exist themselves separately somewhere. And then the movie script is, I don't know, developed somewhere else. And then the production of the movie somewhere else. They all have to come together in one place. Which is a production house. That's where the movie is produced.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting you're saying that, and I'd like to draw, from your experience, the comparisons in the way this is being done across the region. I was having a conversation with a very good friend of mine, called Colin Gale, and he told me that, the thing about East, well, I'll focus on Kenya within the wider East Africa setting,
Okay.
and then look at Nigeria and South Africa.
Okay.
And he told me the thing that the Tanzanians have figured out quite quickly is that they're churning out content in masses. The volumes that are coming out of TZ are so much that the market is always ready to pick up. It's sort of drowning everything else that's coming from the outside in. The same thing with Nigeria. And the Nigerians figured it out years ago when, Nollywood came to play. Right now, I don't know how many movies are being produced by
My God.
but there's a volume game that comes into play. As opposed to Kenya, where I see a lot of creatives really focusing on their craft and looking at producing things that are quality for the consumer, but not in that volume. There's no volume game applied, at least for now. I don't know what your thoughts are around that, and even from an influencer's perspective, like Kenya, how does that come into play?
I mean, with Kenya, we've got certain key player influencers, as you're saying. In other countries, it's much wider spread and much more developed. But there's an interesting word you've used there: produced. Producing means that there has to be the capability to produce, the investment to produce, or the motivation to produce, right? In this sense, a lot of the people here are trying to produce good quality stuff, are trying to create good quality stuff. But because they're not given the opportunity or the platforms to do that, then they expose low quality stuff which doesn't motivate people. So we're saying there's a whole opportunity here for us guys to actually invest in building quality, creative content, and produce it in the same level of quality. So which means you get good writers, good content developers, good production, then use that to spiral or motivate other people to play at that standard because that gets results. So we get the premium stuff working, then the rest happens. Same way that happened in Nigeria with the movies and music. First, what they did is they didn't have quality stuff, but they were given platforms to be able to produce thousands of movies. There was always a producer out there ready to put themselves in it. Then what ended up happening is someone produces something where they invest in production. It gets exposed. It gets a lot of recall. Then people say, I want to be like. So that's why the musicians are where they are. Yeah. Somebody has to put something that becomes iconic to spur off the growth of any industry. I'm sorry to use this bad example, but for gangster rap to develop, you need one gangster to really be invested in and to make it. Then everyone says, I want to be a gangster.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if no one cares about the one gangster that exists and everyone shoots and laughs at him, then no one will take it seriously. Yeah. Make sure the viability, show the opportunity and the energy with what something is doing for people to be able to invest in it. Yeah. And it always starts with pioneer brands. Pioneer brands have to really put a lot of energy behind this market while the opportunity is still there and while they can lead and own it. Those who invest first will win for much longer time.
Yeah. And that's what, to your point earlier on, Nike, Adidas, and now Under Armour figured it out.
They figured it out. Yeah. They're the ones who went and put their money behind all the players.
Yeah.
So by the time everyone else is coming to pick the pieces that have remained, there's nothing to pick.
Yeah.
Because these guys have already reputably put themselves in a place where if you're a person of repute, then you should be with these brands. So even us guys need to say, guys, if you're an influencer of repute, then you should be with TrueTribe. Or if you want production of repute, then produce where TrueTribe produces, which is the Village Creative, which is a group we work with, right? And that way, we produce then quality content for clients that goes out in the market and works, and then it spirals and builds the industry. From then on, guys, you'll see the pressure and the quality of content coming out will completely change. But until someone invests and says, I'm going to invest, I will not get the immediate return, but eventually I'll build into something. I think one of the brands I always like, and I think was one of the first content building brands, was Red Bull. Red Bull used to do stuff. We used to say for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Because they were more interested in people shaping stories about Red Bull. Red Bull was never about their adverts. It was all about the tasks, the dares, the challenges they'll do. Sending someone to jump from the highest point
Space
of
jump, yeah.
of free fall is ridiculous, right? Today, who do we have? We've got what's Tesla's guy called? I call him
Elon
Tesla's guys.
Musk.
Elon Musk has the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And what's the other guy of Virgin who's not a Virgin? Richard Branson again.
Yeah.
Same thing from both fellows,
Yeah.
right? They because the reason they stay the way they are is because they are pioneering things, guys. If we know the world, we know it's moving into content. If we don't lead, then you're just part of one of the masses later on in the future. So what we should be doing is being the ones to pioneer and show you guys how it's done. Then the others will follow. So these guys have gone into space tours, right? When it's not profitable, is it? No. But they have to do that in order for them to set and own space itself. If we don't start it now, then we'll be mixed with the rest fighting for the scraps.
True
We've
that.
got to be the ones who set it up.
True that.
And the only way we'll have advantage in setting up is because we have all the resources to be able to produce the best quality content. We've got the connections to all the talent we need to be able to get that done. And then we need to have also all the know-how from a digital perspective and have a digitally led agency in support to be able to share it.
Let's bring it home. The work that you're doing right now within this space, a two-part question actually. The first thing is, what sort of trends are you seeing taking over within the space that are very low-hanging fruits for brands to tap into and take across the region? I know different markets have different ways of looking at it. In your experience, what do you see that? And then number two, let's dive into, based on those trends, what you see a partnership with a digitally led agency looks like, and we can take it from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first part, what are the trends we're seeing that are actually creating some low-hanging fruit that we can jump onto?
Yeah.
We have seen a lot of move away from traditional media and to people plugging into smaller content pieces being developed by influencers online or on mobile, right? So for whatever they're carrying on their social handles, people are jumping onto, but they're producing little scraps, right?
True.
So if the clients are already moving their money, or brands are moving their money, realizing they get more value from these little scraps that each individual influencer is producing, why don't we produce the same thing but on a larger scale? So what I'm talking about is programming. I'm saying the low-hanging fruit is investing in programming. We create larger creative pieces or larger programs or projects that look like little individual stuff that would have been done by an influencer, but on a much larger scale. And then get clients and brands to invest in those because those have a much larger reach, much more quality, and can build a larger conversation than what the brands are doing, where they're saying, I'm going to influencer A, plugging into them and getting to move within their life space and circle, going to influencer B, plugging into them, going to influencer C, plugging. Then I'm saying, wait a minute, hold on. Let's create a program that can take influencer A, B, and C, and they can plug into that program. So there's a lot of partnership programming that I think should be done. That in essence involves involvement in things like shows. Let's show the way with certain key brands, get them involved in certain key shows or programming features that run over the longer term and involve more content creators in that single project and expand that across the market, right? Then run those programs not on the traditional format, because as you've seen, the clients have moved away from those formats, but on engagement formats. So which means move them away from saying, let's put it on TV, which is passive. That's the reason people are moving away, because there's no engagement, right? And move them onto a platform like digital, which is engagement-led. But we have taken a programming feature, which would have been done by few influencers, made it one central component that all influencers are plugging into and everyone can engage into on a digital platform. So get involved in more shows, develop more high-quality shows, spread them across digital platforms, and build from there.
Okay, interesting. You mentioned digitally led agency partnerships. One of
the second part.
the second part. One of the things that we've at least gotten into, running a number of projects is, as dentsu, being the world's largest communications company, from an advertising standpoint, we are actually third at the moment. We've taken a very big focus on content and the way brands use content to market. And one of the individual brands that we have within the group is Story Labs, that focuses not just on content creation or content marketing. It also focuses on distribution of that content, how we can actually be able to bring in talent to create bespoke content for brands in a content marketing setting. Having had so many conversations with you over the past couple of months, to see how this comes to life, what do you see the opportunity is? Because we do have other brands within our market setting right now that are doing quite well. I prospect, I saw Kara. Have done so much for so many brands right now. What do you see the opportunity there, and the marriage that is happening between TrueTribe and Dentsu, with Story Labs being the baby that comes out of it?
I think Story Labs, the good thing is it's a good thread to marry the digital agency, or let's say call it the digitally led agency, with, of course, a content-led agency. Because the advantage of Story Labs is they feature a lot on production and distribution. They center on the quality production of key content and quality distribution of key content. So you see, the quality production side marries with the content agency. The distribution side marries well with the digitally led agency. So it creates that synergy. So what they will do is create a lot of programs that will create the basis of the foundation for a long-term investment or partnership in producing stuff over a long period of time because of those programs or key assets. And then the agency, the digitally led agency, will help distribute that over that long period of time. So I see they play an important role in bringing that emergence. With that, what we'll use it for then is to create a wider or new opportunity. That's the one where we're venturing or exploring in, which is now about when it comes to beyond programming, when it goes to mainstream advertising, can this also be used as the same platform? So the foundation of Story Labs is programming, which is where TrueTribe will content create for that program, right? And content produce for it. And then the distribution will be done by the digitally led agency, which will make sure that they distribute it or share the story in the correct manner. With all their media channels and digital channels and digital strategies and plans. Then what will happen is we have an opportunity then to learn from that, build that, and grow the next level, which is now shorter form content. That means content advertising, content stunts, content activations, content events, content experiences. Then we start building from then on to different formats, right? Beyond the programming. So the programming format is what Story Labs presents, but it can present a foundation for the rest.
Got it.
So that's where the opportunity is.
Got it.
Yeah.
Any parting shots?
Parting shots is, I'm always excited to do something different, because I think as a pioneer of anything that's new or fresh, the one who makes the first mistake really absorbs that mistake well and learns a lot. I used to tell people, always listen to me. Why? Said I am the sharpest guy you should listen to. Then these young guys tell me, why? You do things the old way. I said, no, because I've made more mistakes than you. So I'll tell you 3,000 mistakes you can avoid so that you don't end up like me. Then now you have a clearer path that is void of any barriers. So for us guys who come off as pioneers, and I feel this is a very big pioneer project, we'll be the ones to shape the industry, make the first mistakes, and know the first routes to make it succeed before anyone else has. So therefore we'll have a head start.
Exactly.
We need that head start.
We need it.
So I'm saying, let's go out there and make mistakes and make money after that.
Oh man, this has been so awesome. Sitting here, I've just been thinking I should just start my own podcast. I'm like, this is so much fun.
These media guys, just think how he's become a whole channel to himself.
Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it.
Cheers, man. Thanks speaking to you.
Yeah.
And let's look at how we can move this
forward
for sure. And move it forward immediately.
Yeah.
Content is always on.
Yeah, it's always on.
So we've got to be on now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.